The rain battered the windshield as I pulled up to the old Victorian house on Maplewood Lane, its silhouette looming like a reluctant giant against the stormy New England sky. My heart raced not from the thunder, but from the job I'd impulsively accepted, babysitting for a man who, by all accounts, was as warm as a February frost. I was Julian Torres, a grad student scraping by, and this gig was supposed to be a quick paycheck, not a life-altering detour. I grabbed my umbrella and dashed to the porch, where the door swung open before I could knock. There stood Ethan Caldwell, all sharp cheekbones and sharper eyes, his charcoal suit pristine despite the chaos of the evening. "You're late," he said, voice clipped, like he was rationing words. I glanced at my watch 7:02 p.m. 2 minutes. I bit back a retort and forced a smile. "Sorry." The storm slowed me down. "I'm Julian." I extended a hand, but he just nodded, stepping aside to let me in. The house smelled of cedar and something faintly sweet, like vanilla. A small girl peeked from behind a staircase, her dark curls bouncing as she clutched a stuffed rabbit. "That's Mia," Ethan said, already halfway to grabbing his coat. "She's 6. No sugar after 8. Bedtime's 9. I'll be back by midnight." And with that, he was gone, the door slamming shut like a verdict. Mia's eyes, big and hazel like her father's, studied me with unguarded curiosity. "Do you like stories?" she asked, voice soft but steady. I knelt to her level, ignoring the damp chill seeping through my jeans. "Love them." "What's your favorite?" Her face lit up, and she dragged me to a living room cluttered with books and crayons, launching into a tale about a dragon who hoarded stars. I listened, nodding, already charmed by her earnestness. This kid was a spark in a house that felt like it hadn't seen light in years. As Mia colored a dragon mid-flight, I glanced around. The place was beautiful but cold-polished wood floors, high ceilings, and not a single photo on the walls. It was like Ethan had scrubbed the house of anything personal, anything that might hint at who he was beyond the single dad who hired strangers to watch his kid. I wondered what kind of man left a 6-year-old with someone he'd only met over a 10-minute phone call. Desperate, maybe. Or just detached. We played, read, and laughed through Mia's endless questions. Why do clouds move? Can rabbits dream? I answered as best I could, feeling a warmth I hadn't expected. By 8:30, she was yawning, her head lolling against my shoulder as I carried her upstairs. Her room was a burst of color pink walls, fairy lights, a bed shaped like a castle. I tucked her in, reading one last story about a knight who saved a village. "You're nice," she mumbled, half asleep. "Like a dad should be." Her words hit like a quiet earthquake. I froze, the book still open in my hands. I wasn't anyone's dad, just a guy trying to pay rent. But something in her sleepy trust tugged at me, like a thread I didn't know was loose. I brushed her curls back, whispered goodnight, and tiptoed out, my chest tight with something I couldn't name. Downstairs, I tidied up, my mind replaying Mia's words. The house was too quiet now, the storm outside a dull roar. I found myself wondering about Ethan, why he was so closed off, why he lived in a home that felt more like a museum than a haven. A creak at the door startled me. Ethan was back, earlier than expected, his coat dripping wet. "She's asleep?" he asked, not looking at me. "Yeah, upstairs." "She's great. By the way." I hesitated, then added, "She really loves stories." He nodded, his jaw tight, like he was holding back 1,000 things he'd never say. "Thanks. I'll Venmo you." He turned toward the stairs, dismissing me without another word. I grabbed my umbrella, stepped into the rain, and drove home, the warmth of Mia's smile clashing with the coldness of her father's distance. Something told me this wasn't just a one-night gig. Something was pulling me back to that house, to that little girl, and maybe against all odds to the man who didn't seem to want anyone close. The next week, Ethan called again. Same clipped tone, same urgency. Can you do Friday? Mia asked for you. I said yes before I could overthink it, drawn by the memory of Mia's laughter and, if I'm honest, a nagging curiosity about her father. When I arrived, the house looked the same, stately, distant, like it was holding its breath. Mia greeted me with a hug that nearly knocked me over, her bunny tucked under one arm. Julian, I made you a picture. She thrust a crayon drawing into my hands, a stick figure me, her, and a tall figure I assumed was Ethan, all under a rainbow. Ethan appeared, tie loosened, eyes scanning me like I was a puzzle he didn't care to solve. Same rules. I'll be back by 11. He was out the door before I could respond. Mia tugged me to the couch, already chattering about a new story she'd invented. We spent the evening building a blanket fort, her giggles filling the house with a life it seemed to crave. As we crawled inside, she whispered, "Daddy sat a lot. But he smiled when I said you were coming." Her words landed heavy. I pictured Ethan's stern face, wondering what lay beneath it. Was it grief? Guilt? Or just the weight of raising a kid alone? I didn't ask Mia to elaborate. She was 6. Not a therapist, but her observation stuck with me. After she fell asleep in the fort, I wandered the house, restless. In the kitchen, I found a single photo tucked behind a stack of cookbooks. Ethan, younger, laughing with a woman who shared Mia's curls. They looked happy, whole. I put it back, feeling like I'd trespassed. When Ethan returned, he was quieter than usual, his eyes red-rimmed, like he'd been fighting more than just the evening traffic. "She's asleep in the living room," I said, pointing to the fort. He nodded, then paused, his voice softer. "She talks about you nonstop. Thanks for whatever you're doing." It was the closest he'd come to warmth, and it caught me off guard. "No problem. She's easy to love." I meant it, but the words felt risky, like I'd admitted too much. He looked at me then, really looked, and for a second, I saw something flicker in his eyes, vulnerability, maybe, or recognition. Then it was gone, and he was back to business, handing me cash this time. I left, the rain lighter now, but my thoughts heavier. Mia's drawing was still in my pocket, and I couldn't shake the image of Ethan's fleeting softness. The weeks blurred into a routine. Every Friday, I'd show up, Mia would light up, and Ethan would hover at the edges, a ghost in his own home. But cracks started to show. One night, he came home early and found us baking cookies, Mia's idea, a messy disaster of flour and giggles. He didn't scold us, just leaned against the counter, watching. "You're good with her," he said, almost to himself. I shrugged, wiping dough off my hands. "She makes it easy." That night, as I readied to leave, he stopped me at the door. "Julian, why do you keep coming back? This isn't exactly glamorous work." His tone wasn't accusing, just curious, like he genuinely didn't get it. I thought about lying, but truth slipped out. Mia's special. And, I don't know, I guess I see something here worth sticking around for. I didn't mean him, not consciously, but the air shifted, charged with something neither of us acknowledged. He nodded, and I left, my heart pounding like I'd just confessed. By the 5th week, I was part of Mia's world, her stories and drawings filling my phone and my thoughts. Ethan, though, remained an enigma, distant one moment, almost human the next. One evening, as Mia napped on the couch, I found him in the study, staring at a laptop screen. His shoulders slumped. "Long day?" I asked, leaning in the doorway. He glanced up, startled, then sighed. "Long life." It was the most he'd ever offered about himself, and I seized it. "Want to talk about it?" I kept my tone light, but my pulse quickened. He hesitated, then closed the laptop. "Not really. But, thanks." He stood, brushing past me, but not before our eyes locked for a beat too long. My skin prickled, and I cursed myself for noticing how his presence filled the room. Mia woke up, saving us from the tension, and we spent the evening playing board games. Ethan joined us for one round. His laughter rare but genuine when Mia cheated shamelessly at Candyland. It was the first time I'd seen him unguarded, and it hit me hard Ethan wasn't just cold. He was protecting something fragile. Later, as I tucked Mia in, she grabbed my hand. "Julian, are you going to stay forever?" Her eyes were wide, hopeful, and I felt my throat tighten. "I'll be here as long as you need me, kiddo," I said, dodging the weight of her question. But as I left her room, I caught Ethan watching from the hall, his expression unreadable. He didn't say anything, but the silence felt differentless, like a wall, more like a bridge we hadn't crossed yet. The next Friday, everything changed. Ethan came home late, his face pale, hands trembling as he set down his keys. "You okay?" I asked, alarmed. He shook his head, sinking onto the couch. "Mia's mom. She passed 3 years ago. Today's her birthday." His voice cracked, and I sat beside him, close but not touching, giving him space to break or hold it together. He chose the latter, but barely. "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it. "That must be so hard." He nodded, staring at the floor. "I don't know how to do this, raise her, keep her happy, when half of me is still gone." It was raw, unguarded, and I wanted to reach for him, to tell him he wasn't as alone as he thought. But I didn't. Instead, I listened as he talked about Lily, Mia's mom, and how her death had shattered him. For the first time, I saw Ethan not as the cold single dad, but as a man carrying a grief too heavy for one heart. When he finished, the room was quiet except for the hum of the heater. "You're doing better than you think," I said softly. "Mia's incredible, and that's because of you." He looked at me, his eyes searching mine, and I felt the air shift again, like we were teetering on the edge of something bigger than either of us could name. Winter crept into Vermont, dusting Maplewood Lane with snow. My Fridays with Mia became the highlight of my week, her energy a bright spot against the gray. Ethan, though, was a slow thaw. Some nights, he'd linger after coming home, asking about my studies or Mia's latest obsession. Other nights, he'd retreat, his walls back up. I didn't push, but I couldn't ignore the pull I felt toward him. The way his rare smiles lit something in me I hadn't felt before. One evening, Mia insisted we build a snowman. We bundled up and tumbled outside, her laughter echoing as we rolled lopsided snowballs. Ethan came home mid-build, his car pulling into the driveway. Instead of heading inside, he joined us, his gloved hands shaping a snowman's head with surprising care. "Not bad, Caldwell," I teased, tossing a snowball at him. He caught it, a grin breaking through, and tossed one back, hitting my shoulder. Mia squealed, and soon we were in a full-blown snowball fight, breathless and laughing. Inside, we warmed up with hot cocoa, Mia sandwiched between us on the couch. She fell asleep, her head on my lap, and Ethan didn't move to take her upstairs. "She loves you," he said quietly, his eyes on her. "I haven't seen her this happy in a long time." I swallowed, my heart racing. "She's easy to love," I said, echoing my words from weeks ago. This time, though, I let my gaze meet his, and the air crackled with something unspoken. He leaned closer, just a fraction, and I thought the peta might say something more. But he pulled back, clearing his throat. I should get her to bed, he said, lifting Mia gently and leaving me on the couch. My thoughts a tangled mess. The next week, Mia dropped a bomb. As we colored, she looked up and said, "Julian, why don't you live here? You'd be a good dad." My crayon froze mid-stroke. I glanced at Ethan, who just walked in, his face a mask of shock. He didn't correct her, didn't say anything, just stood there, frozen. I laughed it off, ruffling her hair. "I'm just the babysitter, kiddo. But I'm here when you need me." Later, as I grabbed my coat, Ethan stopped me. "She's never said anything like that before," he said, his voice low. "About anyone." He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time, and my chest ached with the weight of it. I wanted to tell him I felt it too, the connection, the possibility, but I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I nodded, said goodnight, and stepped into the snow, my heart pounding with what I hadn't dared to say. By spring, the house on Maplewood Lane felt less like a job and more like a second home. Mia's drawings covered my fridge, and Ethan's guarded edges had softened, replaced by quiet moments of Iona's shared laugh, a lingering glance. But he was still careful, like he was afraid to let himself feel too much. I got it. Grief doesn't just vanish. It lingers, like frost on a window pane. One night, Mia had a nightmare. I found her crying in her room, clinging to her bunny. I sat on her bed, stroking her hair until she calmed. "I dreamed Mommy was gone again," she whispered. My heart broke for her, for Ethan, for the family they'd lost. "She's still with you, Mia," I said. "In your heart, in your stories." She nodded, falling back asleep, her hand in mine. Ethan found us like that, his silhouette in the doorway. "You didn't have to do that," he said, but his voice was thick with gratitude. I stood, careful not to wake Mia. "I wanted to," I said. She's family to me now." The word slipped out, raw and true, and Ethan's eyes widened. "Julian," he started, then stopped, like he was wrestling with something too big to say. We stood there, inches apart, the air heavy with everything unsaid. I wanted to close the gap, to tell him I saw him the man. Not just the dad, but fear held me back. What if I was wrong? What if he wasn't ready? The next Friday, he asked me to stay after Mia went to bed. He poured 2 glasses of wine, a first, and we sat in the living room, the silence comfortable but charged. "I don't know how to do this," he said finally, staring into his glass. "Let someone in again." "But you're different." My heart stopped, then raced. "I'm not going anywhere," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. He looked at me, his eyes searching, and for the first time, I saw hope there, fragile but real. We didn't say more, but we didn't need to. Something had shifted, and I knew we were on the edge of something new, something terrifying and beautiful. Summer brought warmth to Vermont, and to us. Ethan started joining us for movie nights, his arm brushing mine on the couch. Mia noticed, her sly smiles saying she saw more than we admitted. One evening, she insisted we all camp in the backyard, a tent pitched under the stars. Ethan grumbled but helped set it up, his hands steady as he drove stakes into the ground. Inside the tent, Mia fell asleep between us, and Ethan's voice dropped to a whisper. "I haven't done this since her." I reached for his hand, tentative. He didn't pull away. "You don't have to do it alone anymore," I said, His fingers tightened around mine, and in the dim glow of a lantern, I saw him smile a real, unguarded smile. My heart soared, but doubt lingered. Was this real? Could I be what he and Mia needed? The next week, Mia's school had a family day. She begged me to come, calling me her other dad in front of Ethan, who didn't correct her. At the event, we cheered her on as she ran a sack race, her laughter infectious. Parents whispered, their eyes on us 12 men, one kid, an unconventional trio. Ethan tensed, but I nudged him. Let them stare. We're here for her. He relaxed, his hand brushing mine, and I felt a spark of courage. That night, as we tucked Mia in, she hugged us both. I love you, Daddy. And you, Dad. My breath caught. Ethan froze, then kissed her forehead, his eyes glistening. Outside her room, he turned to me. She means it, he said, voice rough. And I think I do too. I couldn't speak, my chest tight with hope and fear. He stepped closer, his hand cupping my face, and kissed me soft, tentative, but real. It was a promise, a beginning, and I kissed him back, pouring everything I hadn't said into it. When we pulled apart, he whispered, stay tonight. I did, falling asleep on the couch, his hand in mine, the future uncertain but bright. Fall returned, a year since I'd first stepped into the house on Maplewood Lane. The leaves were golden again, but everything else had changed. Ethan and I were navigating something new, something neither of us had expected. We didn't label it, but it was there in the way he smiled when I walked in, the way Mia called us her dads without hesitation. The house felt alive now, filled with photos, laughter, and us. One evening, Mia's school hosted a talent show. She wanted to sing, a song she'd written about family. Ethan and I sat in the audience, his hand in mine, as she took the stage, her voice small but clear. This is for my dads, she said, and my heart swelled. The song was simple, about love and home, but it carried the weight of everything we'd built together. Ethan squeezed my hand, tears in his eyes, and I knew he felt it too. After the show, we walked home under the stars, Mia skipping ahead. Ethan stopped me on the porch, his expression serious. Julian, I was lost before you. I didn't think I could love again. But you brought us back. He pulled a small box from his pocket, a simple silver ring inside. I don't know what the future holds, but I want it with you. Will you stay? For her. For us. I couldn't speak, only nod, tears streaming as I slipped the ring on. Mia ran back, hugging us both, and we stood there, a family forged not by blood but by choice. The house on Maplewood Lane wasn't cold Anna Maria, it was ours. A home where love had won, against grief, against fear, against all odds. And as we stepped inside, I knew I'd never just been the babysitter. I was home,